Okay, my name's Alastair Faulknor. I've been living on Stewart Island for about the last 12 years. I used to have a house over here, bought a house in Marpole Road. I've sold that and now moved on to a boat and live in Braggs Bay, at one with nature. No power bills, no rates, and lots of wildlife. It's awesome, absolutely awesome. And I like to go for a bit of a cruise now and then, around the island, and when I get a chance and opportunities like that, it's a great place to be, and it's an absolutely awesome place to live. Right, well, the bird life on Rakiura is pretty good. Everywhere I've been and looked around, I've seen, there's a heap of bird life. You probably hear the tui in the background now. There's bird life everywhere, especially around the village. But out in the bush areas, yep, there's a lot of bird life out there as well. I used to do rat lines, trapping rats, and I think I did about 6 or 7 lines. One of them had about 30 odd traps in it. And the bird life out there was fantastic. There was no real issues to me. Lots of birds, different sorts of birds. And I think the wildlife on Stewart Island is really great as it stands now. Yep, I don't think it can be made any better, to be honest. It's a rugged area, rugged island, and that probably keeps control of things more than any predators do. Right, the information that they've provided seems to be, it seems to differ with the information that Doc has provided in the past. They had a meeting a little while ago, Zip Doc, talking about the 1080 dropping into creeks and things like that, and they said they couldn't track it, they couldn't trace it, it didn't happen. And of course I asked the obvious question, well, did you test it in salt water, because we do have tidal rivers over here? No, they hadn't. Also, there's a lot of tarns and rivers in the areas that they plan the aerial drops, and Doc's own code of practice, if you like, taken from a few years ago, says no, you don't drop it near water. Well, if you're spreading it from a helicopter or fixed wing plane or anything like that, you're going to be dropping it in water, because if you're flown over the island in a helicopter, and I have, there's creeks and tarns and all over the place. So their information, I don't believe, is very factual on the prospect of dropping it without polluting waterways. Also, obviously, if they do get a great kill rate, which they probably will, there's going to be a lot of dead animals in that in the water supplies. And what about boaties that go into preservation and decide they top up their water tanks? That's getting a bit dangerous. You mightn't get any poison from the 1080, according to them, but you certainly get a crook gut from drinking water that's had dead animals in it for some time. Yeah. Well, basically they're overlooking the wishes of the people on the island. It's all well and good. I believe the dock staff probably get brainwashed. It gets hammered into them that, we have to do this, we have to kill the rats, and this is the way to do it. But the main thing they're overlooking is they spout forth about the countries that are using 1080. They don't mention the hundreds of countries that have banned it or don't use it. They don't appear to be listening. They got, been offered, I believe, $90 million. That is not coming from the Kiwi taxpayer. I believe that when I see it, to knock the rats off here. $90 million to spend on Stewart Island. Man, you could hire a lot of people and set traps and baits to do things like that. You don't need to drop poison all over the place. Poison is random, and saying that it won't affect anything bar the rats and cats is just wishful thinking. It does affect everything else. It has done in the past, and it will do in the future. So they're not, Doc and Zip, I don't think, are being entirely truthful about the effects of the poison and the poison spread. And once it gets into a water supply, that's pretty shocking. Hey, you look at poisons like cyanide, really great stuff, because as soon as that's wet, that's it, it's had it, and it's not toxic. So that, that would disappear very quickly. But once again, you've got to, the baits and things like that have to be set specifically for rats, and I don't know how you do that, and I'll bet you they don't either. Well, the locals seem pretty happy with the status quo at the moment. Whether they'll be prepared to contribute, if there's 90 million bucks in the bucket, they shouldn't need to contribute. It's not the locals that we would love it to be predator free, let's face it. If the island was predator free, it'd be great, but not at the cost of using a poison. Rat trapping around the town here is pretty good. Most places do it, and they use baits around the town here. It doesn't stop the bird life. You can see most of the birds that you find in the built-up area are still, they're still here. They're not disappearing, and probably in some cases more because people feed them. They shouldn't, but more birds in the town area than there are in some of the bush areas around. So, yeah, I don't think the locals should have to contribute to it. I mean, rates and power over here will kill you anyway without that. But getting people to work out there's not enough. Most of us are too old to work, and the other young ones are all out fishing. So, yeah. I don't think that organisations should be able to control the island. The island should be able to control itself, to be perfectly honest, and it's quite capable of doing so. The biggest issues that I understand have been on the island is power, of course, and that's one that we need help from the government for. I don't think we need help for anything else. And the big thing about it is we choose to live here. We like the lifestyle. We like the freedom that the island gives us. And I don't think that any big organisation like Zip or DOC should come in. And I've got a friend on the island that told me he goes on about Thursday and Friday fights, and I said, and what's fights on Friday? I was the locals fighting DOC. So, and that happened way before my time, I must admit. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that it's possible that that'll start again. Not good. So no, big business should keep their butt out of it. The tourism industry over here is pretty good at the moment. The island can only handle so many tourists. What do they want to do? Kick the locals off and turn it into a tourist hotspot? Yeah, that would be a worry. Not really. I think you've covered most of it. Everybody on the island has different concerns, and let's face it, so everybody wants the predators gone, but the method of doing it is the big thing. Poison, I mean, when I was younger, I was brought up in the Wairarapa, and I used to go hunting in the Tararuas. Doc, or the sods, whatever you like to call them, bombed the place, and I'm not sure what the poison was in those days, whether it was 1080 or, I think it was 1080, not brodifacan. I left the Wairarapa, was probably gone for about 5 or 6 years, so I didn't do any hunting up in the Tararuas during that time. When I came back to the Tararuas for 5 or 6 years later, what bird life? It had gone. Even the pesky bloody magpies from around the foothills, the whole lot of it had gone. And it was another 5 years after that, so 10 years after the bombing of it, that I actually went back up there again, and the bird life was starting to come back. On the island here, the big thing is you knock the birds back, and they will get knocked back with the poison. Where are they going to repopulate from? The mainland's a long way away, and how how can you repopulate a whole island this size with the numbers of birds and things that are around at the moment? And that's a major issue. We've got a lot of kiwi on the island. They eat grubs, eat, get into rotten meat and things like that. Boy, there won't be many kiwi left after, and there's no way that you're going to repopulate with what's left. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, really is.